Year 2007, I was an 8-year-old boy. My name is Ismail, and I am 21 years old now. This story I'm going to tell is a completely true and past-my-head story. We had a happy family. I was born in the city of Balchik in Bulgaria, and the place where we lived was completely in the middle of the forest. It was the house of my grandparents. I was a fearless child. I got up at 8 hours in the morning. We were outside playing games with the neighbors' children until 21 hours in the evening. The game we played the most was hide and seek, and we were playing hide and seek together at about 21 in summer. I loved the dark, and I enjoyed playing this game a lot at night, although it was scary. I was hiding in the woods waiting for them to find me. Imagine which child would hide in the woods in the middle of the night. I guess I was a decrepit child, or so I thought. I used to play this game every evening and gather comfortably at my house until one night. We went out and got together at 21 Malkin to play a hide-and-seek game like this again. Deck. There was a place like a huge creek at the beginning of our house, so we were dumping our garbage there. Because there was no garbage pail where we lived, the state was not interested in it because it was a place without heat. I had a strange feeling that night. I don't know exactly what it was, but it seemed strange. I've never felt like this. When we started playing hide-and-seek, I was deep in the forest again, at the root of a tree, waiting for someone to find me, and then I heard a gushing sound. When I woke up in the morning, my mother took me by the arm and took me to the teacher. The teacher started reading me to dissolve my tongue, then gave me an amulet and recited water, and told my family that this child was very scared, involved in demons. Demons. Consider him. My parents were in shock, took me home. My mother washed me with recited water and made me drink. They were trying to ask me what happened, and I had difficulty explaining. My father told him to drop the subject. He warned my mother not to bring it up again, and so, I thought I was lost, and I was out of breath. I sat down, I started crying on the floor. The only fear was that I wouldn't see my family, and they would be angry at me. And then I heard a squealing sound again. "Look behind you." But this one was right under my ear. I turned my head back and saw him. He was a big tall man, black. His face didn't show. That's when I realized very well what fear feels like. I was speechless. I couldn't control my breathing. My heart was almost going out of place. I tried to open my mouth, but it got heavy. I couldn't open it. My eyes grew like they were coming out of their sockets. I was in fear. I got up to the moon. I turned around to run. But he was in front of me again. I don't know what I was going to do. He wasn't reacting at all. He was just standing there, watching, and I was about to pass out. We looked at each other for about 15 seconds, and then he started walking towards me, and I was walking backwards. His 1-foot step was about 5 steps from mine, but I couldn't take my eyes off him. I was walking backwards, but at the same time I was looking at him. Then suddenly he started running, and I turned around and started running. I was going crazy. I couldn't get out of there. And then suddenly I found myself in the middle of the road. It was the street of our house. I started running towards the house. I got to the door of our house. I felt a heaviness on my lip towards the lights. I went in. My parents were lying down. I immediately started lifting them up, but I wasn't making a sound. They woke up when I shook them, and when they saw me, my mom started screaming, like, "What happened?" I couldn't tell her no matter how hard I tried to tell her, because my lip was split in half in the middle. My father took me to the hospital and immediately took me to the hospital. They stitched up my lip when the doctors asked what was wrong, and my family didn't know anything. My father started telling the doctor about the situation, and the nurses took me in to get stitches in the emergency room. We came home after I had my lip sewn up. I fell asleep immediately from the effects of anesthesia. After 3 months, he can talk. But that child, that happy child, did not exist. Instead, a coward, a child who did not even put his head out, came. My parents were doing their best to make me forget it, even if it was a little. They were trying to make me forget it with gifts. I loved the guitar very much. My father bought me a guitar for a little boy, even if it was difficult. I was trying to play with it at home, and so I was distracting. I wasn't thinking about him. Because during these 3 months I was only thinking about him and couldn't sleep, I used to dream about his face at night and jump up and down. This went on for quite a while, but we started having problems with material, because my parents wouldn't leave me and go to work because I was scared. But how long could this go on like this? One day my father told me to be afraid and be brave now. He said that he was convicted of keeping them working, and this house, and I didn't want him to go. But we were running out of supplies. We were needing to eat dry bread day by day. And that's why I understood my father's speech and told him, "Okay, Dad, you know better. I'm not so afraid anymore." But actually I was very afraid. The next day, I woke up from my bed and there was no one at home. I got up from my bed, got dressed and picked up my guitar, pretended to play to myself and was singing. And then the phone at home rang. I got up to turn it on. And when I turned it on, there was no one at home. I got up from Germany. There was a woman for me. "Khadija, are you?" He said, "No, I'm his son." I asked, "Who are you, Oda boy?" "I'm your Aunt Mary." Did he say my Aunt Mary? I never knew him. As far as my mother's anathema, I knew that he got married in Germany when I was little. He told me on the phone that he was in Bulgaria, and Slime was at the bus station, and he said he wanted to come to us and have tea and meet my mother. So I said, "Come, Auntie." But Mom said, "I'm home alone, okay? I'm coming." And Mom, what a surprise. "And you won't be alone," she said. "Okay, Auntie, I'll hang up the phone." Saying the bus station was 15 minutes away, but although 1 hour had passed, no one had come. I sat down on my bed again, took my guitar in my hand, knocked on the door and opened the door saying my aunt had come. "Hello, Ismail." I said, "Your Aunt Mary," hugged and kissed me. I was surprised. I was seeing my aunt for the first time. As my mother showed me in photos, it was a woman. We went inside. My aunt started telling me for a long time. She was telling me about the days she spent in Germany. So I asked her, "Auntie, why you've never come now, my son?" "I really wanted to come, but your mother didn't want me." My aunt said my aunt had a fight with my mother. They broke up. According to my aunt, my mother said she never loved her husband and didn't want him to get married. But my aunt told her that she was in love with him and wouldn't stop here, and ran away one night. I was listening to my aunt in surprise. The door knocked again. "Sit down, Auntie." I said, "I'll take care of it." I moved to the door. When I opened it, an old grandpa shepherd is in front of me. He was standing there telling me, "My child, I was thirsty when my shepherd sitting on the opposite slope passed by, but I couldn't find water anywhere. I need to drink my pills. Noon has passed." He said, "Okay, Grandpa, wait here." I went to get water from inside. My aunt said, "Who is it?" "An old grandfather is a shepherd." I said, "Does my aunt have it here?" I said, "I'm seeing it for the first time." Then I took the water to Grandpa. Grandpa was very thirsty and exhausted. "Thanks after drinking his pills, my son." "A lot of water givers," he said. "I'll go on my way." And he left the door. "I'll close up. I'll go inside to my aunt, my son. I'll go to the grocery store." My aunt asked if you're coming. "I can't come." My aunt said I'm playing guitar at home because I was still afraid to go outside. My aunt said, "Sit here, I'll come right away." I left the house with my toy. And then when I answered the phone, it was my mother who called. "My son, we're coming. Do you want anything?" She said, "I don't have it, Mom, but 1 hour ago my aunt in Germany came home to see you." I said. My mother's voice had stopped on the phone. "Hello, Mom, my son, how are your aunt?" "What are you talking about?" she said. "Mom, my aunt in Germany is this." My mother, who was in the photos, was confused. I could tell from the tone of her voice. "My son, your aunt said she died when you were a baby." I was cut off. I didn't understand what she was. Who was the woman who was in my house 1 hour ago?